Hello, hello, and happy Sunday to you. Welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford, your host for today, and I am excited because we will be talking about the leadership secrets of the Santa Claus. Leadership secrets of the Santa Claus. Let me get the camera fixed here. And here is the book that we are going to cover today. And for those of you who are joining us for the very first time on E360 TV, welcome, welcome. And to those of you who are continuing to follow us, thank you so very much. Power of the Pen is a platform designed to spotlight authors and books that are either written by women or designed to help inspire women to be the best, amazing, expansive, creative version of themselves. And today, as you see, I'm in the festive mood with my Santa cap on, and it is the holiday season approaching, and there are lessons that we can really learn from Santa Claus. And I love this book. This book is from the Walk the Talk company. It is a business leadership company. They have a lot of quick, simple reads like this. And this is going to be a two-part series. So today we are going to cover building a wonderful workshop and choosing your reindeer wisely. Again, building a wonderful workshop and choosing your reindeer wisely. And the one thing that I love about this book is it sits on the premise that effective leaders are able to accomplish big things, amazing things. They have those just crazy, wild goals that they're able to achieve. And how they're able to do this is through setting clear goals, having a solid sense of accountability, and that ongoing feedback. And the leadership team that wrote this book, I thought it was just so innovative and creative. And this is an example for those of you who are out there as authors, who have lived experiences in business or in life, and you're thinking, how can I package this in a way that will attract a reader? How is my message different? Well, sometimes the message isn't different, but how you package it, how you plate it, if you will attract a different reader and have a different level of impact. So this particular book is designed for those. It was written for those in corporate, but I'm going to translate it for both corporate as well as the entrepreneur. So if you have your own business, whether you are a small business, mid-sized business, big business, it doesn't matter. I think there's some key lessons that you can take away from this. And even if you're a solopreneur and you're thinking, I'm not certain how this is going to apply, just sit back, relax, get a cup of hot cocoa, and take out your notes, because I promise you're going to want to write down a few things, because this is going to be an interactive, a little bit different than what we do in the past when we're focusing on a particular book. So I want you to get out your notes, whatever device you want to capture notes on, and walk through these 4 lessons with me. We're going to cover 2 today and then 2 next week. And there are 8 in total. But again, we're going to take a little highlight. But before I begin digging into these lessons, I want to read you something from Santa himself. Santa says, "It is not easy being Santa. Believe you me, having to smile and be jolly every day when you're wearing the same thick, hot red wool suit that itches like crazy is no picnic. This is a job that will definitely strain your sanity and drain your ego if you let it. Seems like everyone wants a piece of me. Yet many of the people I serve question my existence or just plain don't believe in me at all. And those who do believe often expect me to do the impossible, rarely caring about what I have to do or go through, including those chimneys. And they all have expectations. Give people exactly what they want in a ho, 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 and everybody loves good old Santa. But miss 1 or 2 items on that list, or forget to include the batteries, and you better be ready for alligator tears, the fat jokes, the stupid songs, No cookies, the wet laps, the yanks on the beer, and if I could do Santa, I could do Santa better than Santa remarks. And that's only half of why it's not easy being me. There's no doubt that my biggest challenge comes from two roles that people rarely associate with this red cheeked, bag carrying sleigh driver: Santa the manager and Santa the leader. And I want to pause right there and I want you to think about where you are in your business or where you may stand in corporate America. And do you sometimes feel the pressure of the demands, the pressure of meeting those customer expectations, whether it's internal customers, external customers, where you feel like they just don't get what it takes to do this job? They don't understand what I have to go through. And Santa is saying, I get it. I feel you. He says, after all, he's running a business. I'm a boss. I've got responsibilities, both to the gift givers and the gift makers. There are workers to lead, letters to read, orders to fill, processes to manage, stuff to buy, stuff to make, standards to manage, new technologies to adopt, skills to develop, else problems to solve, and reindeer droppings to scoop, even though I delegate that one. Trust me, I've got some big and not always easy fitting boots to fill. Now, those of you who may be solo entrepreneurs, you're probably nodding your head saying, Santa, I feel your pain. I feel like I have to do everything. But even if you're not a solopreneur and you have a team to run a business effectively, it requires multiple lanes, systems, processes integrated in a cohesive way in order to align with your mission, to deliver the results that you have stated for your customers, and to meet those performance goals and objectives that are ultimately going to impact your bottom line. So Santa gets you. Santa feels your pain. Now, I want you to take out your notes right now because we're going to go over two critical lessons on leadership success. And the first thing is making the mission the main thing. Making the mission the main thing. I would like you to take a moment right now and write out, what is your mission statement? If you're in business, if you're working for a company, that mission statement should be top of mind, because that is saying what you do, why you show up every single day, what your promise is, what you are hoping to achieve day in and day out. What is your mission statement? I'd like you to write that down. With the Bradford Group, our mission statement is to help individuals achieve their financial dreams, build legacy, and create generational wealth. That's our mission statement. We've been in business for 17 years. And you may be wondering, well, what do you do? Well, we're a commercial and investment mortgage company. But at the end of the day, once everyone signs on the dotted line, monies are transferred, properties are sold or refinanced or purchased. At the end of the day, it's not about the mortgages. It's about us aligning with our mission of helping individuals achieve their financial dreams, right? Building that legacy and creating generational wealth. When people are purchasing properties, whether it's commercial or investment properties, it's falling in one of those three lanes when you really look at the bigger picture. So I want you to ask yourself, what is my mission? And write that down. Because Santa says, keeping your mission in front of individuals, whether it's yourself, your team, your partners, your customers, is critical, because it is what's going to be core in your decision-making process. It's going to be core in how you show up, how you perform every single day. It is that guiding principle. It's that commitment that you're willing to say, this is what we say we're going to do. And we're going to show you through our actions, through our products and services, through our day-to-day efforting, that we are going to achieve this. See, he says, with all the team members we have, orders we get, toys we make, and issues we face, it would be easy to dilute ourselves, head off on tangents, or just plain lose sight as to why we are here. Now, how many of you have just jumped on the pivoting bandwagon like crazy. Every time you see the latest video offer idea, you're quick to jump on. You're quick to buy the new thing. You're quick to spend time in someone's boot camp that may or may not have any relevancy to what you are doing. See, Santa says when you have the main thing, your mission as the main thing, it becomes that guidepost in your business. And you're able to assess, if I'm going to turn left, how does it align with my mission? If it doesn't, then we don't do it. If it does, if it's a complement, if it's going to help us to scale and grow, create greater impact, reach, income, influence, then let's pursue. He says we avoid these tangents and losing sight by keeping our mission at the heart of everything we do, by making our mission the main thing. And Santa says he would encourage each one of us to do the same thing in our workshop. So again, whether you're in corporate, whether you have your own business, you're that solopreneur, what is your mission, and are you keeping it the main thing in how you execute, how you show up? The other thing that he says as far as the workshop, he talks about your people. So we know our purpose is important, but he says, let's not forget the people. The people are the ones that help us to achieve that mission. And he says, even though this is common sense, Santa says, alas, common sense apparently isn't all that common. There are a handful of people out there who just don't get it. They don't get the message. They don't understand how aligning your mission with the people and understanding that your people are the core of what you do, and they're the ones that are going to be able to help you to produce that desired outcome. And Santa says he received a short letter several years ago, and I'm going to read you this letter. It says, Dear Santa, this year I only want one thing. A manager who cares about me as much as about me as the work I'm doing. It is hard to be committed when there's no reciprocation. Please help. Again, I'm going to read that again. This year I only want one thing, a manager who cares about me as much as the work that I'm doing. It is hard to be committed when there's no reciprocity. Please help me. So I want you to think about where you stand as a leader in your company, or even if you're that solopreneur, and how you line up with your partners, with your strategic alliances. Are you always looking to what they're going to do for you? What can you get? What can you pull? What can you milk? Or are you saying, how can I reciprocate? What can I do to help pour in? What can I do to help lift, encourage, support, inspire, motivate, elevate? We know that's one of the discussions that we are hearing a lot in the corporate sector because of the Great Resignation. Companies are wondering, what can we do to re-engage a level of commitment with our employees? Because we know that customer centricity is important, but we also know being very focused on our core, on our people, is critical to our sustainability. Santa says he wants you to ask yourself, are you considerate of the needs of those around you? Especially those of you who have strategic partners, who have stakeholders. Are you considerate of their needs? Have you thought about it? Are you weighing them? Are you just focused on, what can I get? Are you keeping people informed, in the loop? We hear that all the time in employee opinion surveys. I want to know, keep me informed. I'd like to see some transparency here, some accountability from leadership. With your customers, are you keeping them in the loop? Are you keeping them engaged with changes that may be happening with your products, with your services, with your processes, with your operating hours? Are you keeping them engaged? Are you communicating with them? Or are you just hoping that, hey, I've got them and they're not going anywhere? He says also, you want to demonstrate respect for the time and talents of others. Ask yourself, look around. Are you respecting the time and talent of others? Or are you taking it for granted? Are you assuming, well, They're there. They're always going to be there. When we think about partnerships, oftentimes that can be an issue, that it becomes a little lopsided in the shared burden. One person is towing the line a little bit more than someone else, which creates animosity and resentment. And eventually there's a parting of the ways. So having that communication, knowing what the expectations are, what the shared responsibilities are, and being accountable to achieve that. And that ties us into the fair and equitable distribution of work. Santa says that's really important. You may have some superstars out there. You may have one partner that you rely on all the time, but you are just literally crippling them with all of your demands. Pull back, assess who you have on your team. How are you distributing the work? How are you distributing the requirements? And make sure that there is a shared burden, because the last thing you want to do is burn out your superstars, right? The last thing you want to do is those that are helping you to get to those goals and objectives, that finally they're like, enough. I don't feel valued. I don't feel respected. I just feel like I'm just a number, just a resource, get it done. But there's a human behind the work. So Santa says, again, be sure to assess your workload. Ask yourself, is it fair and equitable in its distribution? And this last part in this building the workshop piece talks about your values. So I want to ask you, especially the small business owner, the entrepreneur, what are your values for your business? What are your core values? And how do you demonstrate those in everything you do? Are your partners aware of the values? Are your stakeholders aware of your values? Your employees, your gig workers, your virtual assistants, are people aware of the values that support and undergird your business? Santa had an exercise because he wanted to assess how his team, his workers, were lining up with the values. And he asked them to each build what they envisioned the perfect workshop would be. And as he walked around and he saw the workers, some were constructing some very elaborate facades. And he saw one person, and her name was Victoria, and Victoria was just staring at her blocks, and she hadn't done anything with them. And he said, "Is there a problem, Virginia?" She says, "No, Santa, I'm just thinking." So I left her to her thoughts and exited the classroom. Santa comes back again, and he says, "I was taken aback. There in front of Virginia were 6 vertical columns and nothing more. Do you need more time?" I asked. "No, thanks," she answered. "I'm done." Hearing that, I probed further. "Virginia, I'm not sure I understand. All the other models are detailed structures, but all you have are 6 columns. No walls, no roof, no nothing. How come?" The explanation she offered is where you'll find the lesson for leaders everywhere. Virginia said, "Well, Santa, it seems to me that what makes a workshop wonderful is not the walls and ceilings, but what happens inside those walls and under those ceilings. It's not how a workshop stands, but what it stands for that makes it special. These 6 columns you see are pillars, and they represent the values of this workshop. They represent the values of respect, integrity, quality, customer service, responsibility, and teamwork. I found them listed on our website." And I want to pause right there, and I want to ask you, are you so focused on the construct, on the appearance, making sure everything looks great on the outside, but inside it's empty? As Virginia said, it's not the walls and the ceilings. It's not what happens inside the walls. It's what happens inside those walls and under those ceilings. So ask yourself, what is actually happening inside the walls and under the ceilings of your business? How are the values that you have, whatever they may be, if it's customer service, if it's quality, if it's family, whatever the values of your company is, how is that being displayed inside your business? Have you thought about that? I would encourage you that if you have a team, sit down and talk about your values. Ask your team, are we demonstrating this? Is it evident? Though we may have them on our website, though we may have them posted on the walls, do you see this in action? See, Santa says make sure that everyone knows what values are important and then help everyone to turn those good beliefs into everyday behaviors. When we know what we value, it will then translate into how we show up. It will translate into those visible, demonstrative actions that we take each and every day with our team, with our stakeholders, with our partner relationships, with our suppliers, with our customers. So the first part about workshop, building that workshop, I want you to just to remember to keep your mission the main thing, to focus on your people, and to let your values be your guide. Let your values be your guide. I want to welcome you all to our special edition of Power of the Pen, the Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus, and we will be right back after this break. Welcome back to Power of the Pen. And we have just finished talking about one of the 8 leadership secrets of the Santa Claus from this book, The Leadership Secrets of the Santa Claus, How to Get Big Things Done in Your Workshop All Year Long. This book is available on Amazon. It was written several years ago, but it is still very, very relevant today. A quick, simple, easy read with practical questions for you to apply to your life and your business and ask, how am I showing up? And if I'm seeing that I want to rise as a leader in my business, that I want to have the influence and the impact and the income that I want, where does my business line up with these secrets? Number 2, this is part 1 of a 2-part series. So the last one that we're going to go over today is choose your reindeer wisely. Choose your reindeer wisely. Now, Santa says you need to hire tough so you can manage easily. And I'm going to expand this a little bit. So not just actually hiring your staff or your 1099, your gig workers, but I want you to think about that partnership that you have. Those stakeholders that you're engaging with, that you're depending on to help you cross that finish line. Sometimes we get real excited when we see someone who appears to be in a similar lane or may have a skill set or resource that we could use, and we're quick to say yes, but we haven't evaluated it fully or weighed the cost. And I'll give you a quick example before I go over what Santa says about this. I received an outreach from someone, and they had this just brilliant, huge idea of what they wanted to do. And I'm listening to them, and as I'm listening, I'm getting sucked into their excitement, right? Excitement sells. And I'm enjoying in what they're saying. And I'm like, yes, this sounds great. Yes, and I can vision it. I mean, they crystallize where they were going in my mind. And they said, well, I want you to think about it because I think you'd be a great partner with this. And I'm nodding as I'm on the phone. But then when I hung up, I thought, no, this is great. It is brilliant, but it's not what I do. Their audience is not my audience. My audience are not entertainers. They're not the those in the fashion industry. That's not my audience, even though this was this person's ideal clients. And she has the networks and everything to make it work. then the one part that was missing was an element that I could bring to the table. But had I quickly said yes and not sat back and just kind of evaluated it, I could have easily gone down that path. Now, Santa wants us to know about all of the reindeer that I know that you're all familiar with, right? Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner and Blitzen, and of course Rudolph. But how many of you know about Misfit? Misfit is one that most people don't know about. In fact, Santa says he's not here anymore. Unfortunately, Santa says he had to let him go. It all started when I was faced with hiring a new reindeer to fill a vacant position. Now I know that pulling the sleigh is a very important job. Ask the reindeer; they'll tell you. But I was busy, very busy. Recruiting and hiring a new puller was just one of the scores of things on Santa's platter. And besides, bringing on new staff can be tedious, bureaucratic, and tiring work. It's not what makes me jolly. Personally, I much rather walk around the workshop, chat with the elves, and test new toys. So I took the easy route. I did a cursory resume review, conducted a quick pro forma interview, and grabbed the first warm antlered body that appeared halfway decent. How many of us, come on, show of hands, have we done that? Have we hired the wrong person simply because they were a warm body at the right time, at the right place, and we needed it, and we said, let's get it done? Or we partnered with someone where we thought it looks good on the surface, but then as we got into that relationship, we realized that we were not equally yoked. Our values were different. Our work ethics were different. Our vision was different. Our drive was different. Our why was different. He said he did a probe to determine if Misfit was committed to responsibilities like teamwork, dependability, and customer service. The answer was no. He said, did I test his flying skills? No. Did I do a thorough background check? No. Did I involve any of the other reindeer in the selection process? No. Did I take one of our new high-pressured water gun toys and shoot myself in the proverbial foot? Yes. So Santa's saying, had he just paused for a minute with all that he had to do, this was a really critical role that he had to fill. If he had just paused and done all of his due diligence, got his team involved, looked at what competencies and qualities that he needed, and to see how Misfit aligned, he would have realized Misfit was misaligned and not the right fit. Again, this is for you to think about with your business and where you are in corporate. Are you hiring the right persons for a position? Are you aligning yourself with the right people to meet a goal or objective? Or are you, sometimes fear can get in the way. So let's talk about that. Well, fear like, oh my gosh, this is scary. I don't know if especially those solopreneurs, I don't know if I want to do this alone. I don't know if I want to go back down this path independently. So I'm going to latch arms with this person over here that seems to be going in the direction I want to go, seems to be doing what I think I want to do, seems to have the skill sets that I think I see. But at the end of the day, it's disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. Now, do you blame that partner? Do you blame that employee? Or do you blame yourself because you were rash in that judgment and you didn't take your time? Like he says, hire tough so you can manage easily. So he says Misfit was appropriately named. After a short period of putting his best foot forward, the problems began. He showed up late, displayed a less than desirable attitude. When I called him on it, more and more he carried less and less of his share of the load. That made the sleigh pull to the right, forcing the left side crew to work harder in order for us to stay straight. The harder the work, the more irritated they came, and the harder it was for me to keep reins in check. So think about this when you're in a team environment and you're thinking everyone has buy-in, everyone is going to do their work. And then there's one who's slacking, not meeting the job. And you're either having to step up or you're having to rely on others to step up. And that can create a lot of disharmony, dissension, and angst among your team. And when that happens, it impacts productivity, satisfaction, perhaps retention, and ultimately how you're performing, how you're showing up for your customer. He said he ended up spending way too much time watching Misfit, retraining him, counseling him, handling complaints about him from other reindeer and the elves as well. Pretty soon he was bringing everyone down. And sometimes that's what we can do. We will hold on to a bad situation instead of letting it go and saying, you know what, this just is not working. Maybe it worked for a season, but then as you're growing, as you're maturing, and as the company is leveling up and going to another level, some of your team may be with you and some may not. Or you may have brought in the wrong person to begin with that had a vision that was smaller than yours. So now it feels like you're pulling them along instead of them willingly going along and helping you to build. So he says now he does things much differently. Through the Misfit experience, here are two things. He says he learned that employees, your team, your partners, ultimately make our mission happen. And now for him, staffing, those partnerships are his single most important responsibility. Santa wants to make sure he doesn't make mistakes like that again, that he takes time. I used to hear the statement, hire slow, fire fast. You want to make sure you're weighing all the costs. And he says, the time I spend hiring the right way is nothing compared to the time I'll have to spend dealing with the wrong reindeer. And that's so true. We've all been in situations like that where maybe we had coworkers who weren't pulling their fair share of the work and you felt the burden. Or maybe you were that one that was hasty in your hiring decision or forming a partnership or developing that strategic alliance. And now you're sitting there in regret, wondering, what do I do? Well, he says the key thing is you've got to take a hiring lesson, invest in doing the right things up front because you will be happier down the road. So I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to take another little break and then we will be right back with the last lesson of this series. Again, you can get the Leadership Secrets of the Santa Claus, How to Get Big Things Done in Your Workshop all year long on Amazon.com. And we will be right back.
Are you a business owner who feels frustrated with the many tech options? Do you know how to use social media, websites, and digital business cards effectively? Millions of people just like you are searching for these answers and don't know where to turn for support.
Hi, I'm Sue Wilhite, and for over 25 years, I've helped business owners just like you to discover what really works for their business, to get rid of useless tech that's draining their money, and to increase their bottom line.
Schedule a free Zoom session with me at the link you see on the screen, and I'll review your business systems and suggest ways to make an immediate difference. The session is completely free and you have no obligation whatsoever. Schedule your session now. It can change your life forever.
All right, we are back for the final piece of this episode of Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus. This is part 1. We'll have the final episode next week for part 2. And this last part, we're all aware of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. Companies all over the world are talking about these fundamental principles. And Santa says that you need to go for the diversity advantage. He strongly recommends going for the diversity advantage. And I want to read this very critical piece because, as I said, this is a growing conversation that we're having in corporate, government sectors, small business sectors, entrepreneurs. How do we create diversity? And we're not just talking about racial or ethnic or cultural diversities, but diversity also in experiences, in skill sets. So the composite of what it means when we're talking about diversity, inclusion, belonging, equity, and accessibility. Santa says it used to be that our elves were pretty much all alike. Same size, same pointed ears, same little green suits, same way of talking, same everything. Whenever we needed new elves, I automatically looked for and brought on workers that fit the standard mold. How many of us do that? When we're looking for partners, when we're looking for strategic alliance, when we're even looking for customers, we look for people who look exactly like us, especially in the partnerships, or maybe people we're hiring. They look like us. They think like us. Where is the diversity here? And he said that had been working for years and years. We rarely messed up on an order, and we never missed our December 24th delivery. I was one happy slave driver until two things happened. Competition. He said he realized that competition happened, and that not only was there competition, but the competition seemed to be stronger because they were hiring different people. They were hiring people to reflect the customers that they served. And he said he wasn't sure how to address the challenge of competition, but he knew something needed to be done. Staying with business as usual probably wouldn't serve us much longer. And we know right now the future of work is an ongoing discussion. What does that look like? From a hybrid workforce to virtual workforce, in office, again, multi-generational. What does this now look like? How do we show up? And how do we take advantage of the diversity that's there? He said soon after discovering that we had competition, the second thing happened. He said a group of North Pole politicians passed a law that said we had to, number one, expand our hiring practices. We had to start bringing on different kinds of toy makers, not just the pointy-eared fellas. He said, and that caused them to compile regulations and change the new set of change how they were doing business. They couldn't use the same recruiting procedures they had used before. He said there was language barriers that they had to get over. New interpersonal skills had to be developed. Things called non-discrimination regulations had to be communicated, taught, and followed. Now, even as a solopreneur, think about that. Because again, when you're saying as a solopreneur, I want to develop partnerships, but you're limiting yourself to say, I'm only going to partner with people who look, think, act like me. You've just pigeonholed yourself. You've limited your ability to grow and scale because you're only working with people who look like you. You're only looking to reach out to people who look like you. And you have to think about all the drivers that feed into your ability to do things, or again, looking at the entire system of business and creating a diversity landscape. He said it wasn't easy, but we did it. He said what started off as a challenging situation has become their most significant competitive advantage. And he believes it could be ours as well. Believe Santa, believe in diversity. So that's the last part that I want to end with is in building your workshop and choosing your reindeers wisely. You want to remember to make your mission the main thing. Focus on your people as well as your purpose. Let your values be your guide. Hire tough so you can manage easily. And again, I'm not just talking about who you hire, but who you partner with, who you're in relationship with in your business. And go for the diversity advantage. There is a lot of great nuggets, little wealth of wisdom here from Santa. Again, this is available on Amazon.com, and I'll put the full title here, Leadership Secrets of the Santa Claus, How to Get Big Things Done in Your Workshop all year long, available on Amazon.com. And if you wish to be a guest on Power of the Pen, we would love to have you. We'd love to feature you and your book. This is a great platform to create more exposure, more impact and influence of what you're doing, and ultimately attract people to your site to purchase your book, perhaps hire you as a speaker, as a trainer for their event or for their company. So all you have to do is type Power the Pen of the subject line on an email to me at LaWanna@BradfordGroup.com. Again, just simply put Power of the Pen at LaWanna@BradfordGroupMTG.com. Person from our team will get to you with an application and talk to you about the platform, what we need from you, and then getting you on the schedule for 2023. Yes, already planning for 2023. It's amazing. Time is going so fast. So I want to thank you so very much, excuse me, for joining me on Power of the Pen. And before we close, I want to just give a shout out to our sponsor, Freedom Travel Diva. Again, thank you so very much for joining us for another episode of Power of the Pen. And as I mentioned, if you want to be a guest on Power of the Pen, simply reach out to me at LaWanna@BradfordGroupMTG.com. Type in Power of the Pen in the subject line. That's all you need. A member of our team will get back to you. Would love to have you and your book featured here in 2023. Also, coming up in 2023 are the virtual book launch on E360 TV. So we're real excited about that campaign. And you're thinking, what is this virtual book launch? Well, it gives you the opportunity to now feature your book on a platform that has over 3 million viewers. It is on a separate channel station. It is hosted by Power of the Pen, but it's under E360 TV Central Live. And you can have either a 1 hour or 2 hour spot. You can be an independent author that wants to launch your book virtually, relaunch your book virtually, or perhaps you have a collaborative book that you want to get out there and showcase your authors. Again, it's a great tool and resource for you to create more exposure, more awareness of what you're doing, of the message that you want to get across. You also get a copy of the production that you can use to further promote and showcase. And we give you a resource guide on how to create more impact and visibility with your book. So it's a great opportunity. Reach out to me. If you're interested, you can simply send us email again with Power of the Pen, and in the body of the email, say I'm interested in a book launch. We will get with you. We'll talk to you about what it takes, what information we need from you so we can get it scheduled. And you will have that exclusive time. It will not be shared space with another author. It will be your independent time on the media network, allowing you to, again, create that exposure that you want, reach more people, create more impact, and ultimately increase your bottom line with your message, with your book, and with understanding who you are as an author, right? So again, thank you so very much for joining me for another edition of Power of the Pen. I look forward to seeing you next week for part 2 of the leadership secrets of the Santa Claus. Yay, yay, yay. And until then, be safe. Remember to exercise your voice. Your voice matters. Don't be afraid to use the power of the pen, because through you, change can happen. And just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. We will see you next week for part 2 of the leadership secrets of the Santa Claus. Until then, be safe, and happy holidays. Goodbye, everyone.